100% off.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Trash my release real quickly.
Come on in. Are we waiting for more people, Chris, or
I think that's it.
this is the group? All right, cool. Welcome to Dinan. Just to show you a little around today. There's nobody working, obviously. It's Saturday, so it's kind of quiet out there, compared to normal. I know you're probably all familiar with the company. Are you familiar with our racing program? No?
We saw the M6.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's one of 4 cars right now. So we race in the Grand American Roller Series, car on the left. We have 3 prototype cars, which are Riley chassis, mid-engine, carbon fiber body, sequential shift, with a BMW V8 in the back mid-engine. The premier race for us is 24 Hours of Daytona, which we set a track record at this year for preseason testing. Unfortunately, had a gearbox failure at the 10th hour while leading the race and put us out, so the Bruno's Porsche wound up winning, but that's life.
It's racing.
It is. We finished 3rd and 5th last weekend at the Glen, and then we have a new car that started at the Glen, which is an M6 GT car. Next year we're going to have 2 BMW prototype cars and 4 GT cars, 2 M3s and 2 M6s. So we're going to have 6 cars next year. Dinan doesn't own the cars. We're an engine and electronics supplier, so we provide the racing engines and the software and electronics for the car. So the car is runs a Bosch control system, not a streetcar Bosch control system, but Bosch has a motorsport division. So they make motorsport control units, which are basically streetcar control units with a lobotomy. And it's the way I describe them. They take all the OBD2 diagnostic functions out for smog, they turn them all off, and the rest of the stuff's there. So they tune just like the engine management system would tune on a streetcar, using all the same parameters. They just don't have the same diagnostic levels, and they don't go into limp home mode and things like that for catalyst protection. So they also do have a CAN bus in the race car and telemetry. So we have a telemetry feed by radio to the pits, and we have a liquid crystal display, 5 of them in each one of the pit boxes, and you can watch chassis parameters as well as engine parameters while you're racing. Then, as you've probably seen on TV in Formula 1, there's about 50 switches on the steering wheel and the dashboard. The reason that's done now is they used to be able to send telemetry back to alter the operation of the car. That's now illegal. So you have to call the guy at the radio and say, take the red knob, 3rd one over to the right, label F, take it 2 clicks to the right, and that will tune the traction control, the fuel mixture, the shifting speed, or whatever it is you want to change. So we get telemetry feed on what's happening, and we radio them up and tell them to switch to move, but the driver actually has to move the switch. Okay, I don't know why the rule exists. Okay, it was much easier to just send the radio signal back and push a button. The theory supposedly was sometimes things would get changed and the driver wouldn't know it. He'd go into the next corner, he would crash. Of course, there's so many switches on the damn car, they don't know what the switches do anyway. And they can't keep track of them at 150, 200 miles an hour anyway, so it's pretty much not really much difference other than the fact that he's moving the knob.
Well, at least you don't have F1 rules where they decide all kind of crazy body mods and all that stuff that's going on in F1 right now.
Yeah, we have similar kind of rules. We have a fixed template the car has to fit into. And the big, NASCAR owns Grand Am, by the way, if you guys don't know that. So it's just basically NASCAR road racing, I guess, for lack of a better description. See how big the roof is?
Right.
It's about twice as big as a Le Mans car, like the bubble top Peugeot you see at Le Mans. NASCAR's thing is safety. So that you'd be able to put a family of 4 in there and nobody hit their head on the roof. So this does 2 things. One, it likes a lot of drag, also steals a lot of air from the rear wing, which limits the downforce on the car, makes the car easy and safe to extract someone out of in case the car is bent in an accident. And we have a template that the roof has to fit inside of. If you cheat on it, make too small, they disqualify. So it's, they all have the rules, But anyway, that's our rule. We also have a rule we have to put the radiator in the front of the car. We're not allowed to put the side pots. I'm not sure why that is. It's another one of those NASCAR rules. And it just makes it hotter than hell inside the car because there's no firewall insulation. The radiator comes off, heats up all the metal, and the cockpit temperature is, about 120 degrees. So the temperature on the pedals on the metal and the steering wheel, if you put an infrared gun on, is about 140 to 170, the parts you touch. Because first of all, the car's closed. All the windows are closed. It's mid-engine, so the engine's behind you. The radiator's in front of you. It's just like sitting in a convection oven. So
That's the race suit.
Power
what's
cut.
that?
That's in the race suit.
Yeah, I have a cool suit, which brings it down to about 110, I think. But anyway, because it's not like air conditioning, you know what I mean? Anyway, so they're cool cars. we're in the middle 500 horsepower range on the power output. The engines are restricted to 7,000 RPM and 5 liters. We have to run stock valves, stock ports, stock compression, stock bore, stock stroke, and stock intake manifold. So we're only able to get 150 horsepower over a stock engine. And people are always astounded that you can get 150 horsepower with all those things being stock. But it's amazing what little efficiency things you can find if you do a lot of research. So we spend about $20,000 to $40,000 a month on research on this motor project. And it's a lot of details, and I'll tell you what some of them are so you get an understanding of how you find power when you're that restricted. The piston normally has three rings, 2 compression rings and an oil control ring. The second ring has a scraper in it that goes down, and its basic function is not really to seal compression, even though they call it a compression ring. It's to scrape off oil that makes it past the oil control ring. The reason oil would go up past the oil control is you get blow-by on the rings, both down from the cylinder being fired, and also the crankcase is full pressure. When the piston goes down, the air comes up out of the crankcase, and they push that air out of the way, and some of the air goes up past the rings and shoves oil up into the combustion chamber and makes the engine burn oil. I'll show you some of the parts when we get to the back. We put a dry sump pump on the thing with a little supercharger on it. And the supercharger takes the bottom of the engine and puts a vacuum on it. So the engine operates in a vacuum. Now there's no air for the piston to push out of the way, and air can't push up past the rings because there's a vacuum pulling it down. So getting the air out of the way is worth 20 horsepower. We get 20 horsepower in parasitic loss of just pushing the air out of the way for the piston to go down, pumping losses. Now then, since we don't need that second ring anymore because it's a scraper, and we have a vacuum, we get rid of the second ring, and we pick up 10 more horsepower in friction on the ring, on 8 cylinders. Then we make the third ring and move it up where the second ring used to be, make the connecting rod longer, straighten out the connecting rod, and we get less side load on the piston skirts on the piston bore, and that's another 10 horsepower. Okay, and it goes like that to 150 horsepower. So the engine comes up 394 horsepower stock. We're making 540 some odd out of it, so we're up to 150 horsepower with little teeny detail changes like that: stock displacement, stock RPM, stock compression ratio.
Are you allowed to coat the piston at all?
You can put any coatings you want on, friction coatings. Yeah.
Thermal barriers?
What's that?
Thermal barrier?
Well, you don't want to put thermal barrier in the bore. You want heat transfer.
No, on the piston.
Well, you want heat transfer there too. It causes detonation. The piston absorbs temperature from the combustion process. If you put a ceramic coating on it, it won't absorb the heat. The combustion temperature goes up, the engine will ping and detonate at a lower temperature, and then it can also retard the timing and stop the detonation. So you actually want to absorb as much heat as you possibly can. So if you were to put a coating on it, it would be an absorbent heat, and it wouldn't be the insulated. Now you want to insulate when you go into the header, keep the exhaust temperature down, because that keeps the engine bay temperature down, and the intake area gets colder, so we do that. Ceramic coat the headers. And there's some really high-tech coatings and composites we use on the intake as well. But all the power basically comes from little teeny details like that. So it's kind of fun research. It's a little frustrating as well.